On that note, I give the call to the member for Barton.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise in this chamber with deep humility and enormous gratitude as the newly elected member for Barton. Before I begin, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land this Parliament meets on, the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. I also acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land I have the privilege to represent, the seat of Barton. These lands were never ceded. They hold the wisdom of over 65,000 years of continuous connection to land, water, sky and spirit. This history is not behind us, it lives with us. And it reminds us that the work of truth-telling and justice is far from complete. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I want to acknowledge my predecessor and mentor, the Honourable Linda Burney. Your service to the people of Barton and to this nation, as a proud Wiradjuri woman and a trailblazing parliamentarian, it has been profound. Your advocacy for First Nations peoples has shaped this country's moral conscience. I will walk in your footsteps with awe and admiration. I wish you well for the next chapter of your life and thank you for your support. I also want to congratulate my fellow new members of Parliament, and I know we will all work together to ensure this Parliament is defined by unity, by courage and by decency. Deputy Speaker, we are all part of the most diverse Parliament in this nation's history. We should be proud to say as much, but we should also understand the duty that representing that diversity bears. It requires empathy, compassion and humility. It requires an understanding that service to others underpins this job. I'm lucky enough to have been raised by a family that instilled this ethic in me. I was raised in the electorate of Barton. My story is written in the streets of Hurstville, in the parks of Cogra and in the laneways of Arncliffe. I stand here as a member of the House of Representatives with Papua New Guinean heritage and the daughter of a Tamil Sri Lankan mother. While my mother completed her studies in Papua New Guinea and became the first female psychiatrist there, I was raised by my uncle Tiru, her brother. He was a young single man in his 20s, thick slick hair, a leather jacket and a cigarette permanently perched between his lips. Not your typical father figure, some say, but he showed up for me every single day. We didn't do it alone. A Maltese cleaner, hospital cleaner, introduced him to the Bazina family of Nawi, who became family. Then came the Colubriales, an Italian family from Elwood who taught me to brine olives, make salami and roast chestnuts. My family was not defined by blood, but by love and kindness. I was raised in a multicultural village, Sri Lankan, Maltese, Italian, Burmese, Cambodian. I was that dark-skinned little girl running through the streets of Barton who never felt out of place. It was at Hurstville Public School where I first met my husband, Shamil. Maybe an idea was forged on the bus back from the Year 6 excursion to Canberra, but I think it is more likely to say that neither of us imagined we'd be here. Shamil has been by my side through 3 election campaigns in 2.5 years. He's endured stump speeches at the dinner table and my idea of weekend do-it-yourself at home, hammering a few A-frames together for a shopping centre stall, but that's devotion, Deputy Speaker. I see your patience, your love and your strength, Shamil, and I'm grateful beyond with all words. Yeah. I learned early that love doesn't follow convention, it just shows up. And community, real community, is built not by proximity but by generosity. From my maternal grandparents, my grandfather known as Master Ambi in the Tamil literacy and scientific world, and Mano, my grandma, teacher by trade, and I must say she's been a teacher for 40 years, I inherited a commitment to education justice, and I am eternally grateful to them. I thank my in-laws, Smita and Kishore, who came from apartheid South Africa to settle in Hurstville for a better life and taught me resilience and hope. I would like to thank Tiru, my parents Uma and Siva, Dharmini, Daya, Ajith, the Bazinas, the Kulubriales, and my siblings for understanding that serving my community often means sacrificing time with you. While Mother's Day and Father's Day have been a little bit complicated for me, I must say I'm proud that I was raised by a community, a mosaic of cultures, traditions, and faiths. My childhood transcended the conventional nuclear family. I never felt once left out of place because love doesn't care for convention, it just shows up. It shows up and it serves. Deputy Speaker, Barton is named for Edmund Barton, Australia's first Prime Minister. He was a nation builder, stitching together all of the disparate colonies into one federation. However, as a champion of the White Australia policy, I don't think that Edmund Barton could have envisioned someone with the backstory I've just described making their first speech in Parliament. But like Edmund Barton, I attended the University of Sydney before studying law. Like Barton, I stand here representing more than just a place. I represent the project of Australia itself, a project that is not finished but ever evolving. Edmund Barton was Prime Minister when women won the right to vote. In this chamber, I stand on the shoulders of Julia Gillard, our first female Prime Minister. Her words in this chamber were a clarion call to me and to all Australian women to speak up, to push through and change the system from within. I also follow the footsteps of members for Barton, Robert McClelland and Gary Punch. It is an honour and I do not take lightly. Deputy Speaker, after completing my science degree, I began my career in a mortuary. Yes, that's right, dead bodies, not glamorous, but it teaches you that life is precious and dignity matters, in life and in death. That's what drew me to law, to unions and to advocacy. It led me to my passion for workplace law reform, my belief that dignity at work is sacred, is at the core of everything I do. I've stood with workers here and overseas. I've worked with the United Auto Workers in America, the Electrical Trades Union, the Nurses and Midwives Association, and the Australian Hotels Association. In this federal campaign this year, I worked with the United Workers Union, and I want to thank them especially Joanne Schofield, Mel Gatfield, and Riz Chowdhury. Everywhere I've been, I've seen how easy it is for workers to be exploited, especially when they don't understand their pay slips, their contracts, or their rights. I've seen employers operate in the grey zone, especially in the care sector, where profits can be prioritised over people. That's why I'm proud to be part of a Labor government that is pro-worker, pro-decency, and pro-small business. Labor's secure jobs, better pay reforms are shifting power back where it belongs with the workers. Minimum standards for gig workers, the right to disconnect, genuine bargaining power, and the government's Closing Loopholes Act, tackling casualisation, underpayment and wage theft. This is just the beginning. Some say that supporting workers and supporting small businesses are incompatible. I reject that. Business success should never come at the cost of dignity and fairness. The best businesses know that when you invest in your people, you invest in your prosperity. I'm proud to be part of a movement that has always understood the role of unions. They stand in the gap for those who don't always know their rights, who can't read the fine prints, who just want a fair go. Again, their purpose is to serve their members, to serve the collective movement for working people. I learnt more about what this service means in my time working at the St Vincent's de Paul Society, but this time applied to those experiencing housing stress and homelessness. This role taught me that policy only works when it is human, when it listens first. My time as a councillor at Georges River Council gave me a glimpse of how compassionate leadership can shape local lives, especially in homelessness advocacy. I've volunteered in soup kitchens, I've delivered meals to some people sleeping rough. I've sat with families terrified of the night ahead. These are not statistics, these are people, our neighbours. I'm proud of the Prime Minister's National Housing Accord because housing is not just an economic issue. It is about dignity, it's about safety, and it is about hope. I'm also passionate about our young people. This next generation deserves purpose, pathways, and potential, not burnout, not debt, not despair. We owe them a future that is fair, full of opportunity, and where safeguarding the planet has been taken seriously by the generation going before. That's why climate change must be the lens through which all policy passes. If we're not tackling climate, we're not doing our job. Deputy Speaker, while there are parallels between Edmund Barton's life and mine, in some ways they could not be more different. While Barton championed the White Australia policy, I live and breathe multiculturalism. I stand here because others lifted me. That's why I will always fight for anti-discrimination, for safety, for equity and unity. I know what it feels like to be different, to navigate different worlds. I've also seen how political tension can quickly mutate into real-world hate, if not called out early. I will always stand up against racism, division and hate. Yeah. I like to think that Edmund Barton, as the architect of federation, would recognise the work needed to forge not just a nation, but a just nation. My story is a uniquely Australian story, and it is Barton's story. Diverse, proud, imperfect, but always striving. In that spirit, I carry forward the unfinished work to ensure parliaments reflect their people, that justice is accessible, that equality is not just a promise but a practice. Deputy Speaker, I would like to thank the Prime Minister for his faith in me and for leading us all with compassion and strength. Thank you to Dom Offner and David Dobson, and especially George Simon. Thank you, George, for your wisdom and your support. I stand here today because others stood with me. I carry my community with me every step of the way. I thank the people of Barton for placing your faith in me. I will never take that for granted. I thank the wonderful Barton Labor branch members, and I can't list them all, but I can see you up there. My friends, Labor councillors, who worked so hard on the campaign. Thank you to Cherie Burton and Sienna Forrest, volunteering and showing political courage and campaign grit. And to Davina Langton, Cheryl Han, Samantha Hurtado, Jessica Way, Loretta Marcus, Anne Sinclair, Anne Tagg and Anna Minns. Deputy Speaker, my campaign was run by almost exclusively by women, and the result speaks for itself. Thank you to the New South Wales Premier, the Honourable Chris Minns, Ministers Steve Camper and Sophie Cotzis. It is a remarkable privilege to represent a seat alongside 3 state MPs of such calibre. I am grateful for your advice, support and friendship. Thank you to the Southern Sydney Young Labor, to India Jones, Sam and the Iskander family, and to our secret weapon in Barton, Don Smith. My passion for the people of Barton has been shaped by organisations who serve our community. Lala Norahan and the Cogra Storehouse, who provide vital services of food relief and in cultural inclusion. His Grace Bishop, Chris Dodolos, the Greek Orthodox community of New South Wales, the Australasian Hellenic Educational Progressive Association, and our Greek community, who all promote heritage and belonging. Henry Pan and the team at CAS, who provide our amazing Chinese community, who support our amazing Chinese community, who support aged care, childcare and cultural services and lift countless lives. The St George Dragons Junior Rugby League Club in Kingsgrove, who create community and opportunity for local kids. These groups and so many more are doing the real, on-the-ground work that no level of government can replace. I'm committed to fiercely advocating for equitable funding, fair policy, and ensuring the voices of those who serve are truly heard and respected. As Edmund Barton stitched together a nation, I'm here to help stitch together a future for Barton, where no one is left behind, where every voice counts, where dignity is non-negotiable. Deputy Speaker, I'm a proud Tamil Sri Lankan, Papua New Guinean Australian woman, educated in local Barton schools, raised by a Sri Lankan, Maltese and Italian village. I'm married to a South African-born Indian. I have roots in Hinduism, Buddhism and Catholicism. I am the walking, talking embodiment of modern Australia. None of us chose the colour of our skin, our birthplace or our family, but we can choose to be kind, we can choose to serve. And I close with the Latin phrase that guides me, ut prosim, that I may serve. Thank you.